Welcome to the Homegrown Podcast. I'm your host, Liz Hazelmeyer, along with my husband, Joey.
Good afternoon.
And together we hope to educate, inspire, and equip you in your pursuit of true nourishment. Before we jump into today's show, we want to let you know that our goods shop, Hazelmeyer Goods, is launching some really cool holiday sets this year. And I believe they're launching like today or this week. So you guys got to figure that out because let's walk through this a little bit. We have some categories on the shop. If you're not familiar with Hazelmeyer Goods, we're trying to bring traditional, simple, non-toxic goods to people's homes in a way that we love to enjoy them. One of those ways is dish sets. Okay, we've talked about this before, but we use solid lard dish soap and it's like a game changer. And if you've never tried it, this dish set, this like starter pack is such a good thing because you're going to get all 3 dish brushes. You're going to get a charcoal dish soap and a regular solid lard beauty. Then we also have like a body care gift set where you get to try our raw milk and tallow soap. You get to try our turmeric glow bar. You get 2 body sponges and our colostrum and honey whipped tallow face cream and hand cream, which if you haven't tried it, you got to try it. So
that's good stuff.
And then the other 2 things I'm super excited about is we've sort of curated 2 packaged items for our sourdough enthusiasts. So we already have a sourdough kit on the site that we've had for forever. But if you want to level up a little bit, we have sort of what we're calling like a mastery option and then sort of like a mid-level. All of these things are only going to be sold throughout, like in their package form throughout the holiday season. So they are launching very soon. Go over to shopdh.com and check it out.
Not to mention the purpose of these sets is to gain some considerable discounts in the purchasing of these products altogether.
Yes.
So, you could have bought a number of these things originally. And what we did is we put a lot of things together to really help people get some awesome stuff around the holiday season that would be more affordable and also get you in the game. So,
and like a little when you go to a restaurant and you order the sampler, I think this is out of style. Maybe this was like a 90s thing. But like I love a good sampler, because I want a little bit of the chicken wing and I want a little bit of like the dip. These are like samplers for dish care, for body care, and then obviously the sourdough sets for like the enthusiasts that want to be just showered with sourdough. Amazing, like beautiful product.
Anyhow, in addition to those awesome things, we've got coffee and tea sets that'll be on there and a lot more of other awesome opportunities for you guys. Really just scratching the surface here. Don't want to take up too much of your time on this section. Check it out, shopdh.com, hazelmeyergoods.com. Find yourself some awesome products for this holiday season or just because you need them in your home. Either one.
Yeah, shop for yourself, guys.
Good to go.
We approve. Anyways, jumping into today's show, it's obviously just me and Joey today. And I'm really excited about today's topic because we're going to be sharing some of the like philosophical ideas around what it means to, quote, live outside the matrix. Now, I'm going to be honest. I've only seen that movie like one time. And I think I fell asleep. Okay. It was a little outdated for me. But the concept here being living in a direction that is different from the standard American way of life, and not saying one way is right or wrong, but if you always hear the standard American way of life, then it's sometimes nice to hear, okay, well, in what ways is your family living in a different way, and how has that worked for you? So that's this show. It's not going to be like these are the 5 steps to be crunchy, or these are how you should kick the system. It's more like some of the thought process behind it.
And there's some realities here where we live in the suburbs, and there's a lot of things that we do that would be abnormal for somebody that's living in the suburbs. And therefore, we believe taking us closer to a way of life that we feel more positive about, right? If we believe our bodies are temples that we should be taken care of, if we want to be able to be grandparents that can run and play with their kids, be physically available, be healthy, being presently there from like a cognitive state, being spiritually, there's just a lot of things that we do that we have a long-term vision here for our health and our fitness and our way of life. And yeah, I think a lot of these topics kind of feed into that in a certain kind of way.
Mm-hmm.
So talk me through it. What's the first one?
Well, we never talked about order here, so I think we should jump into what I have written in my notebook. This is a big category, something we've talked about a lot on the show, and I want to flesh it out just a little bit. But I think the main principle, number one, of living outside the matrix is that you and I do not take a pharmaceutical first approach. And what I mean by that is both in our standard wellness practices, but also in times of acute illness or even chronic illness, we are not jumping to pharmaceuticals as a first line of defense. And this is totally, completely different from the standard American way of life. I mean, we're not popping Tylenol for headaches. We're not, that's a tiny example. Everything from that to, we're planning our home birth in our bedroom, unmedicated. We are not taking a pharmaceutical first approach. Instead, what we're doing is we're leaning heavily into lifestyle. We're leaning heavily into nutrition and food and nourishment. We're leaning heavily into clean and as non-toxic as we can be within reason, within budget.
Yeah.
And what this also means is that we choose our practitioners a little differently. So naturally, the practitioners that we have are people like trusted chiropractors and holistic practitioners and family care practitioners who see the whole family and they don't, only see kids, right? So they have a broader perspective. And so we're choosing this way of living. And I would say we've been on this track for 6+ years, 7+ years, and it's worked really well for us. And I think one of the bigger kind of ticket items within this category is how it plays out in our health insurance. And so for us, that means we're part of a health sharing program, and that ends up saving us so much money because the people that we're seeing anyways, like if we were to get sick, great example. We had several kids have ear infection-ish symptoms over the summer. We're like, is it swimmer's ear? Is it an ear infection? Whatever. We hit the chiropractor for that. We didn't go to a pediatrician and get prescribed antibiotics, and it resolved on its own. Same thing if early in my pregnancy, I was having some sciatica pain. I went to the chiropractor for that. I didn't go anywhere else. And so these practitioners, they wouldn't take traditional health insurance regardless. So it wouldn't be serving me in that way. But I think having a posture of how can we heal the body, or how can we maintain a level of health outside of just standard surgery or pharmaceutical intervention as a first response. And then if we ever need to escalate it, we absolutely take advantage.
I'd say there's a couple of different principles to, we said we're going to talk theory and it wasn't going to be like how to, and you know what? I can't help it. I have some how-tos here. If you're wanting to kind of get yourself in a place in life where you are relying less on, I would call it commercial healthcare. I don't know. What would you, conventional healthcare?
No, I'd say, yeah.
Either one.
Both work.
If you're wanting to rely less on that, there's some things that you can do. Number one is establishing what is the kind of the line. You don't want to have to figure out what that line is in an emergency, in my opinion. So establishing out what is the line there. So for us, a broken bone, we're going to the hospital.
Yeah.
Straight up. It's happening. If we have something that is beyond our understanding and it seems potentially life-threatening, easy to the hospital. Not even a factor. The care that we give our children is absolute, and we don't have any interest in harming them so to be very clear, we are very pro hospital in the way that it can help us.
Mm-hmm.
But we also don't operate or live a life of fear where when something happens, we just run to the doctor. It's also less convenient to do that. Okay, it can be more convenient to kind of figure things out on your own. Second thing you can do. So one, draw your own lines. Those are going to be very personal to you and your family, you and your spouse. You're going to figure those things out. They're going to be very helpful. So I can give you a few of ours, but not to go through the whole spread, but make them for yourself. And I think talking about them is helpful. 2, network. There are people that you can have within your network that that specialize in different things. For instance, you can pay a chiropractor. Well, my mom is an RN and currently a health and wellness coach. So I call her, you call her, we call her. So
she's more than just a coach. She's a holistic practitioner with like oodles of certifications and an entire team, including like
much better said. Yeah.
Like she is running an entire system of people who are both classically trained in conventional medicine and also understand things like herbs and healthy detoxification and environmental toxins and stealth infections. I mean, her entire practice is like a well-oiled machine at this point. She's not just like, let's talk about supplementation.
Sorry, I said that wrong. Anyhow, so
but we're so lucky to have her.
100%. And having that in your network, you may not have your mother be that person. One, you can call my mom or
totally
find them. Their website is foundationwellnesscoaching.com. Check it out. Plug there. But also you can find people in your network that are free because my mom runs a business. You would pay for their time. You can find people in your network that have information that can help you, right? So you can find people that are in your community that are kind of more that maybe lean towards more crunchy behavior, maybe they don't, and you can just kind of ask them what they would do and what do they think. There's so many people in the world that are in nursing or that are occupational therapists, or you can get to know these people. They're probably at your church or at your groceries. Like you can bump into these people at the farmers market, and when something happens, you can probably find groups on Facebook that you could reach out to and ask questions about this kind of stuff.
Absolutely, you can.
And so you can utilize networks to find people that can answer small little questions when it's not an urgent situation, of course. And if it is an urgent situation, you may still be calling these people, but you might be also on your way to the hospital just in case, right?
Or you're paying them for their time.
100%.
Yeah.
So being able to have a network, I don't know what exactly that looks like for us. Absolutely my mom, but there's others too, right? We have people that are in more like infant care that we can call and talk to that is not my mom, right?
Yeah.
We have people that are more kind of like pediatric. We have people that are more like herbal specialists. We have all kinds of stuff people that we can reach out to. We do benefit from this podcast and the network of people that we've gotten to meet and talk to. So that's a huge deal. So, there you go, right? Go out and meet people and talk to people. That's the best way to get started in all this, building a network of people that can help you. But having a network of people you can talk to helps empower you and also gives you, there's a sense of calm there when someone else is like, oh, listen, I've seen this. Go chill out. Just get some iodine, throw in some water, gargle. You're good to go.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Where do I get that? Oh, you got it? Cool. I'll buy it from you. Right on. Let's go. So network. So kind of establishing those lines, network, both free and paid is kind of what I'm going to say here.
Yeah.
Like friends and professional network. So figure out who your chiropractor should be, occupational therapist for your babies. You have a midwife for delivery, like this kind of stuff. And then the final one would be constantly doing research to learn things on your own. And so that's kind of what we try to present here. We're not doctors presenting medical information, but we interview them. And so we bring them to you. So go through these episodes that we've recorded and learn as much as you can to help yourself be empowered and educated to make wise decisions. So those would be the three things I think that we've deployed. Mitigating, health insurance costs is definitely a benefit. Having control in your house so that you can feel confident to take on a fever, a cold, a flu, ear infection, a sore throat, like these sorts of things without rushing off to the hospital. I mean, it's really great. I mean, like headaches, we're not going to medicate a headache. Now, if it's like a major migraine and like we're like writhing in pain and I don't really know what to do, yeah, we might address that differently. We haven't encountered that, but people do encounter that. So, again, everybody knows their own limits and what they can handle, and they're going to have to establish those for themselves. But there's also some convenience. So it's money, there's control, there's security, but there's also some of that convenience of, yeah, someone gets sick. We're not like rushing off to the, to the hospital. We try to maintain and keep a well-stocked house with some staples that can help kind of remedy some certain things. What would you say some of those staples that we keep in the house are?
I just restocked on some of them. I would say colloidal silver. I'm using that a lot to either like clean wounds or diffuse in a, what do you call that? Nebulizer. Sorry. So anytime
we have a nebulizer.
Yeah, we have a nebulizer.
That's another thing.
Everyone should have one probably after 2020. I think they were sold on Amazon for like $20.
And this is super good for like your kids that have a cough or a sore throat or, super majorly congested. And you can kind of just run this colloidal silver through. That's good
just
stuff.
Get it all in the sinuses.
Totally.
Oh, it's so good. Colloidal silver is a big one. I keep hydrogen peroxide on hand again to clean things. I don't currently have a homeopathy kit, although it is on my list of like things that I think would be good, especially after our conversation when we did the Ask the Pediatrician episode. I think that was a good one. Not something I currently have. I have like one thing of arnica, but that's it.
You have iodine in the house, right?
We have iodine in the house. So yeah, we're using that as a high dose supplementation during, again, illness, like respiratory illness or whatever. And a lot of these are just basically like nutritive supplements. Like iodine would be an example of that. Something you should be getting in your diet, but you're probably not. So we're high dosing it in situations where we have acute illness. Same thing with like all of our supplements, like our ancestral supplements, like the beef organs and the collagen and the colostrum. Yeah. Thank you. I was like, what is that? The fish eggs. Yeah. Like looking at them, they're over in the corner. So you have a lot of that whole food, real food supplementation. And then aside from that, we have I love Cellcore brand. They have like Biocidin, which is just like a really good broad spectrum. Like, I think I'm coming down with a cold or something. Like, let's hit it with some Biocidin. So
anyhow, you're going to build out that would be a great post that we need to do.
We have it. We have a whole blog post on our website of like our natural medicine cabinet.
So go check that out. How would they find that?
Homegrowneducation.org.
Check that out. Build yourself
links. Oh, elderberry syrup. Like, love it.
Build yourself a kit, especially as we're kind of getting into the winter season here, to kind of deal with some of these things. It feels good to have the right tools on hand to manage that. Anything else on this?
Well, here's what I would say. While we don't have a pharmaceutical first approach, we're also not, we're not subbing supplementation in for pharmaceuticals either. I would say we actually have such a good baseline of health that we don't face things where we need to reach in that medicine cabinet very often. So I can't remember the last time I had a headache outside of pregnancy. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't have a need to carry around a bottle of Tylenol, whereas I used to. I used to get regular headaches. If I had like really terrible cramps, like I would have like Midol on hand. It's so funny how when you start switching these things, you have a really bad indigestion. You probably keep something on hand for that, right? So funny how when you switch out some of this stuff and you start living in a more holistic lifestyle, you actually don't experience those inconvenient symptoms on a regular basis. So you don't even need the meds anyways. Now, it is nice when you are sick to have some stuff stocked, but
100%.
Again, we're not like hitting this stuff every day.
No. Oh, yeah, definitely.
So that's good.
Definitely not hitting every day. What's next?
The next way we are living outside the matrix. This is an interesting one. We've never talked about this on the show before, but I'm going to call it protecting our mindset and our worldview. So that's broad, but I think it makes a really big deal because we purposely don't consume corporate media, okay, on either end of the spectrum.
And what that means is that we're not watching Fox, we're not watching CNN, we're not watching...
I don't think we even have the capability to watch any of that.
I mean, like, I haven't tried. I'm sure we could, but we don't watch it.
We don't have cable.
We don't watch it. Now, we're not living in an echo chamber either. So we are regularly talking with people that have different ideas, that think a little bit differently than we do, that are challenging some of the things that we maybe think in a healthy way. And we also are aware of what's happening around us. We're not under a rock. Like, I do read the news. I read the news with an email that comes to my email. It's called The Morning Brew. It's a faith-based organization. So they take a spiritual approach to news. And so what they'll do is they'll work I'm sure, extremely hard to remove as much bias out of any kind of message that they can promote, which I enjoy, especially right now. If you're listening to this, it's, depending on when you're listening to it,
Political season, yep.
the presidential election will have just happened.
Mhm.
So, at the time of listening to this, who knows how that's gone.
Yeah.
But the news that I read does not have any of that in it. There is no and you know what so-and-so said? I don't get any of that. I don't get any of that.
What do you get?
I get, this is what's happening in, Ukraine. This is what's happening in, this is an attack that happened, right? This is a drone strike that occurred.
These things can be political, though. So how are they painting this?
I get stock market adjustment or change. So it's more or less just the facts that happened. So there's nothing political about someone shot a rocket at so-and-so.
It's not an opinion piece. It's just telling you what's going on.
Here's what happened, right? And then, and it's just, it's pretty good. I'd say if you're wanting to get away from all the stress, anxiety, and tension that can come from the high intensity trigger pulling news that you watch, check out the Morning Brew, cut out everything else. It can help your mindset a ton.
Here's another way that we help, protect our worldview and our mindset. I heard something recently in an interview where it was having social media isn't as much of a risk because I'm not as worried about being in an echo chamber. This person was saying, they said, I'm more worried that the version of the quote other side or the opposition of maybe how I feel, that version being exposed to me is only in extremes. And they were saying that it's not so much that they were consuming content that they aligned with and then they were just getting deeper in their ideology. It's that they were being exposed to the side of either politics or religion or healthcare or whatever. And it was always this very, very extreme, not any kind of relatable way. And then it was driving you into assumptions about that group of people. And I would say that was an interesting point for me to consider that this person was saying. And so social media is definitely an area where I'm protecting my mindset. I am careful who I follow. I'm careful who I don't follow. I'm careful how much time I spend on that. I'm careful what kind of information I'm actually looking to get from there. And obviously, we talked about that on the show before. And I think it just needs to be said again. It's definitely a form of media. And it will impact how you are viewing the state of humanity. So think about that. Be careful about that. Consider how that makes you feel and the belief system you start perpetuating in your brain.
Absolutely. And if no news is better for you than any, then just cut it out. If you're like, hey, this isn't a problem in my life, good. I do see a lot of people though that I know that, man, they can get so worked up by this. And we've talked to too many people on this show that are way smarter than I am that have said the same thing over and over and over and over again. If you're encountering a lot of content that is rousing you up and causing you to feel that kind of anger, fight or flight, anxiety, stress, that impacts you so much more than you know. And, do a cleanse, see how you feel.
Do a cleanse. I'm all for the cleanse. Next area of living outside the matrix is, I'm going to say that we hold in general a posture of autonomy that is quite different than how the standard American way of life is set up. In my opinion, because I've lived it before, the standard American way of life where you work for a corporation, you send your kids to a public school system, you buy the house in the suburbs, which we're doing, we do that. A lot of that sets you up for, what's the opposite of autonomy?
I don't know, extreme governance. I don't know,
you don't have a lot of freedom of choice as it relates to your time. Now, what you do have is consistency. You do have, you know exactly what your paycheck is that you're bringing home. Predictability. Yes. You know exactly the school schedule your kids are doing. You know that when they hit the third grade, these are the things they're going to be learning. Those can be beautiful tools. But in our home, something away again that we've kind of gone against the standard American way of life, not saying it's better or worse, but just our experience with it, it gets wrapped up into the concept of owning our own businesses and also homeschooling. And I said this before on another show, but I think it's worth saying again. The reason why you see so many homeschooling families also be business owners or vice versa, business owners also happen to homeschool their kids, is not just because like we think it's like the fun thing to do. It's because it comes out of this core principle that we can figure this out for our family and we can optimize our time in a way that actually makes us more productive and we are able to squeeze more out of life.
It's interesting. Working for a corporation and having kids in public school, they line up together. Right? It's like gears that are kind of like they fit just right. And then when you're running a business and then you've got like this like public school, they're like they don't line up together. So it's like this weird clash. And you look around, you think, man, I run this business, I'm working really hard, and for X amount of time, I just nonstop. I mean, the challenges of running a business are immense. However, you also have so much control over one, how hard you are working, and when and where you work. And so this idea of we can up and go to XYZ, we can take off this time, we can travel around, we can stay home this day, those kinds of decisions are ours. They're all ours. And working hard is something that we like to do. So I probably work more than a typical corporate 9 to 5. It's out of desire and passion and excitement and fulfillment, and not out of requirement and being held accountable. It's the opposite. So when it comes to schooling, homeschooling allows us to integrate the flexibility of entrepreneurism and business ownership into our kids' schedules, and it just becomes a really good marriage, and it works really well for us. And if you ask me exactly what that looks like, man, I have a week coming up where I realize, wow, this week is gonna be pretty light. Wasn't expecting that. Hey, you want to like take the kids and go up to your parents' lake house? Or do you want to go down to my parents' house in Florida? Like, you want to just do that? It's like, sure, we can do that. We go. Or it's, hey, Sophia is homeschooled and we want her to learn how to converse with adults, how to work really hard, understand the meaning of work and money and business ownership. And it's, hey, you know what? Every now and then, like, Joey, can you take Sophie to work with you? So, yeah, I can. I got a job for her. I'll pay her. She can work there. Now, again, this is not like child labor. This is hey, Sophie, you want to come to work with us? She's like, yes.
I think it's legal when they're 13 and older.
Yeah, well, anyways. So the reality is, she comes to work with me, and you could call it school. You could call it work. You could call it Sophia is growing up, learning how to do things that most people don't learn how to do until they're in their 20s. Okay? So absolutely, I want to give her every single advantage I can with the things that I have access to, so that she can be more successful by a long shot than I ever was. So this is one of the ways to do that. Now, am I aware of burnout and grinding too hard? Yeah, sure. I'm strategic. I'm tactical. I'm not oblivious to those realities. So I'm working on this future for Sophia and my other children, all of them, in a way that is appropriate to what they can handle. So all the people are going to comment on this or message me and say, like, you're working your kids so hard, you're taking away their childhood. No, I'm not. Okay, no, I'm not.
If you follow me on Instagram, you know that's not true. I would say the other thing is that I've been saying this lately, but like public school, man, it's a time suck. It's a time suck like you wouldn't believe. And so a lot of the things that I want to teach our kids, I'd have such a limited window to be able to teach them because we'd be rushing off in the morning. They'd be gone all afternoon. And then by the time they got home, they'd be tired. They probably want to go play outside because they've been cooped up. They've got to do a little bit of homework. Then we have dinner time. And it's like, I watch it happen and I'm like, I wouldn't have the time to have conversations with them. Today, I took a walk with Ruth. our 8-year-old. She was like whining at me, and I was like, girl, get your shoes on. Let's go take a walk.
Yeah.
We chit-chatted about some things, got some stuff out in the air. This morning I had come down and she had made her, sister's breakfast. She's 8. She was frying sausages, cutting up apples for a fruit salad, and making some Hazelmeyer Goods chai tea. Like, I can't make this stuff up, you guys.
Gangster.
I slept in and she was downstairs first because it was daylight savings. So like these skills, this autonomy, this like independence that our kids are feeling is built in because they're home every day learning it from us. And they also, it's just like a family value that we have and that we instill. And so this goes into the next thing.
Talk
because
to me.
While autonomy is a family value for us, like we want our kids to be able to do things for themselves and take ownership. I think that's the biggest thing for me. It's like, I want kids to take appropriate ownership over the things that they are capable of.
Mm-hmm.
Feeding yourself, getting yourself dressed, cultivating relationships with people, like having good friendships and being respectful to your family members and things like that. But we also are not anti the nuclear family, but
I think you need to explain that.
I will explain it. We do not live within the traditional framework of a nuclear family, meaning it is just me and Joey and our 3.5 children. And we live somewhere removed from extended family, and we have, friends and community with us, but it's no one else beyond the 5 of us. Instead, we live very much intermingled with our extended family on both sides. And so there's a great podcast called, I can't remember what it's called, but where they talk about this concept of like the nuclear family was a mistake, meaning like all of these little individual units of family members going off on their own and then not having any like multi-generational relationship or support, then left all these kind of parents burnt out and burdened, and like, yeah, you're removed from your greater family system. And instead, we've built a place and a lifestyle where we are very intermingled. And so we are lending a lot of help to other family members, and we are receiving a lot of help from other family members. And so that is definitely not, I would say, normal,
And for me to understand it more, I say this. It seems to be common today that, Jeffrey and Jill get married and they have this desire to separate. Call it pride, call it, I've been held down by my parents for so long, whatever. Rebellion, you could call it a rebellious kind of vibe. They move. Okay. So they move away or like whether it's far away or they went away for college. We have this desire to we have this, I think it's human, but like this desire to like separate from our parents at some point. And next thing you know, those people are getting married, and the best way to get married and be able to sustain a life especially today's economy and what's going on, unless you land a ridiculous job, chances are high that you have debt from college. Chances are high that you had to either you were given a car by your parents, but yet you still don't really want to see them very much, or you went into debt to get a vehicle, or you bought a very rough car and you now have to repair it on a regular basis. Therefore, you're kind of like accumulating some credit card debt to pay for those things. And you both work. Therefore, you put off having children until you establish a really solid career for one of the spouses, right? Husband or wife, to make enough money to allow someone to stay home to raise the kids, or to pay enough money to send these kids off to daycare. Right? This is kind of the vibe. So you've got people that don't start having kids until they're in their 30s.
Yeah.
Because it kind of takes that long after college to get your feet underneath you, to get a house secure, or a place to live, apartment, somewhere secured that is where you would feel comfortable having a baby. You also need to learn the life skills of figuring out where to go to the hospital and what it means to pay your taxes. There's just things that take people a long time to get to because they ditch this opportunity that they have, which is there's people that have done this before me that care about me, that are here with me. And the efficiency and the efficiency that comes with staying close to your family is huge. Mm-hmm. One, you have a trust there typically. Okay, not all families are the same, but typically with your family and people that are very close to you, you have a trust that is unwavering to the point where you know that if you ask them a question about whatever, they don't have an agenda to try to get you. Right? They're not going to give you advice that's bad because they want to see you fail.
Mm-hmm. In a healthy family.
In a healthy family. And again, please hear me. There's definitely families out there that are not this way. I'm just saying, typically, if you have the opportunity to live in your family, it is very good. Example that we're seeing right now is our in-laws. We have 2 sets of in-laws on our street with us. I could hit both their houses with a rock if I wanted to. I don't hit their houses with rocks, but I could probably. And everything from, today I went on a run with my little brother and
who lives on the street,
lives on our street. So we just linked up, went for a run. And then, Kevin Marissa's kids, they live directly across the street from us. Marissa's like, I want to take a nap. Send her kids over. That's a very small way to do it. A big way to do it be that they decide that they're going to renovate their kitchen in their house. So we can help with that. And we love to do it. So let's do dinners together for a while.
Yeah, we're cousins play
right across the street. It's not like we're down the road. They don't have to get in the car.
Right.
It would take longer to get in the car to drive over to our house than it would to walk there.
And then tonight we're celebrating my mom's birthday. We're heading over 5 minutes down the road.
Dropping kids off for date nights, healthy marriage, our kids are playing and being around family all the time. They love it. And so, I mean, if I need help with something, I can't lift this. It's like I got Kyle right there. I need to ride to the airport. It's all right there. Kyle has a question about something. I need to build this, and maybe I've done that already.
I didn't have a car for about a month because our van broke down, and then our other beater backup car also broke down.
Borrowed a car.
And I borrowed my dad's car because you know what? He wasn't even home.
Down the road.
And he was like, hey, go get my car. And I was like, wow, thanks. Now, I did clean it out for him, and I offered to pay for an oil change, but he did reject me. I just want that on the record. I'm not a moocher. But there's something real about, I think the desire and like they'll be like, you leave and cleave, right? Like form your own way. I'm not saying like there's not a period of time when you're first married where you kind of want to establish some independence, but especially when you bring in kids, like you're bringing in that next generation, reaching back to your parents or your siblings and seeing how they're parent, having conversations with them about like challenges they're having with their kids. There's just so much that you can gain from living with an extended family approach. And I've seen people do this with friends before, where they're living in a way, in a lifestyle where they're in such tight community with their friends. They're kind of helping each other out and receiving help as well. So it's not just family. I understand some people don't have that. But I will say in general, like I would say we sacrifice quite a bit for the greater good of the community around us. And we're happy to do that. And I think that that's one of the biggest lies of the whole like American nuclear family, Johnny and Carol have 2 kids and they're just like self-sufficient totally. And on their own. And you miss out with a lot of the relational.
You can accelerate growth of a family and the legacy that you want to leave if you do it in community with other people that can help you get there. Right. That is so true. It's been tested over forever.
Yeah.
All civilization, that if you're in community and you have more people around working towards a common goal, it's going to be more successful. We have businesses with our family that we operate together. We have families that we are helping each other with. If when Kevin and Marissa moved here in town with us, they now had questions about and we're new to this town. Like, where should we go for this? And what should we find? And now it's we're able to help accelerate that for them.
Yeah.
And in the same way, it's now we've gotten to a point where we have a 13-year-old in the house and our youngest is 4 for now. And so we have the ability to kind of pop out to do things, and our 13-year-old can hold on to a cell phone and let us know if anything goes wrong. But at the end of the day, I also know directly across the street is another family that loves and cares for my kids because they're our family. And then down the road to the left is my brother and sister-in-law who are ready to rock and roll as well. And I'm just like, yeah, I feel really safe and secure on our street.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it feels like almost half the people on our street are our family.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
It's a good
Highly recommend.
Yeah, definitely not your average American
Move close to family.
life.
Stay close to family. Let them in. There's going to be some pains there, but there's going to be so many pros that outweigh the pains. Trust me.
Yeah. The last 2 things on my list are smaller. I'm going to call them like sub-points, but I think that they're things that we have gone back and forth on and sort of seen in different seasons. And I'm kind of, I never hear the opposite of this. I never hear the other side. So the first kind of subcategory of living outside the matrix is none of our kids have really necessitated us to get real involved in organized sports. And I say that way because I mean, like, they haven't shown a passion for it. And it's not something where we're like, we will not put you in organized sports. But it's just something that we've had conversations over and over again. And it's been like, no, I don't have any interest in that. And so instead, because we as parents feel like we both grew up doing, I did competitive dance, you did soccer and wrestling. And then like we both grew up being very involved in things. And you kind of feel as a parent, especially a homeschool parent, you're like, oh, am I doing the bad thing by not putting my 4-year-old in soccer? Like everyone else is doing it. And I would say thus far, in our experience, and I'm happy to see this change if my kids, again, necessitate a change, I've really enjoyed not being plugged into this like really kind of rigorous organizational slew of practice and games and things
Let's
like
talk
that.
about the pros and cons of the 2 sides here, and then we can go to the next one. So the pros of organized sports, which I'm very fond of. You might have done some like organized stuff, but like I was heavy.
Hey, competition dance team is totally a sport.
How many years did you do dance?
6.
Okay. I played soccer from the age of 4 all the way through college and into semi-professional.
Well, after I did dance, I also did marching band, which is an organized, something.
Did you wake up in the day and think to yourself, I'm going outside to practice my instrument because I'm so hyped?
Learn my sheet music.
Okay. Anyhow, I
was more in the performing arts.
I'm sorry I said that. You were more serious about band than I was soccer, I'm sure.
No, you're right.
Okay. Anyways, so organized sports, learning how to play and work on a team and work towards something that you are passionate about and own something that you are good at. There's something about that can, when you get good at a sport, right? When you started to be very proficient in your dancing or your instrument, that gives you, okay, maybe not. Regardless, when I identified that I could take control of my performance on the soccer field or on the wrestling mats, I immediately my eyes were opened to how I'm capable of practicing things to get good at them and having passions, and it opens your eyes to a lot of that stuff. Teamwork is a major factor, right? So when you're playing on a soccer team, wrestling, not much teamwork. You're just you.
Mm-hmm.
So, but soccer team, definitely some teamwork aspects. There's some natural, like leadership with it among peers that happens that I think is very healthy.
Mm-hmm.
So, even if you're not the quote unquote captain of the team, you can help support the team. And sometimes the non-official leader tends to even lead the best on these kind of athletic teams. Well, sometimes you can have a really strong captain that's a really great leader. You may even have a lot of people that are great leaders that kind of move the thing forward. Anyhow, that's all very good. Those things, though, I want to say are not limited to sports alone.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of what I'm trying to get at here.
Yeah.
Right. So all the positive things you can see in sports, I'm not saying, but you have to be intentional about it. Sports are a very easy way to kind of introduce those things to your kids. And I'm very for it. Very for it. I also am very aware that my desire for excellence and my competitive spirit and energy would be a lot to handle for our kids, especially if they played a sport that I played.
Yeah, you're kind of intense.
I'm very hesitant to say, hey, why don't you go join a soccer team? Because then I got them out, and then next time we're outside, we're doing drills. We're running laps. We got juggling to earn an ice cream, etc. Right? We got all kinds of things that we'd be working on. But if one of our kids chose to play soccer, I'd be pretty hyped up. I've also if there's a sport they choose that I know nothing about, that might be better, right? They're like, hey, I want to play basketball. I'm like, I don't know anything about basketball, so cool. But I do know about practicing and getting better, so I would still probably become a problem. Anyhow, we put our kids in a lot of fringe sports. Okay, so they're doing sports. Our kids,
I call them family sports. You can call it fringe sports, but I call it family sports.
Snow skiing. Our kids are all becoming very proficient snow skiers. Sophia is excellent at skiing. She's been doing it for years. She's very good.
She started when she was 6.
And Ruthie is now, I would say, very capable.
She can do the blues.
She is
greens and blues.
8 years old and she's doing blues. That's pretty good.
They all started with private lessons.
And Ray's first year of snow skiing is going to be this year.
I can't wait.
So there's that's happening. Our kids watch us lift weights and run. Therefore, they do it too. They just do.
That's true.
It's not because we tell them to. It's just like, this is who we are.
Ray did a workout with me the other night.
Hilarious.
She got our little 2-pounders.
We've talked about this on a coffee chat, but Sophia has her own workout routine. She's getting after it, and she made it herself. We did not coach her, tell her, we did nothing. It's just, she owns it now. It's so ingrained in who they are because it's what we do that it's crazy how nurture can work in a family.
Yeah, they train willingly.
And then finally, this idea of teamwork is something that I take Sophia to my office to work on a team for a really good reason. And when I get there, I try to not be involved in her day as much as possible. So again, this is an advantage I have as a business owner and homeschooling parents, but that's a way that we do that. Okay. And so we're looking for opportunities to invest and grow our kids. And yes, I think sports can do that too, but we currently don't have any kids in a formal sport.
True. Now I'm very pro the idea of lessons and training. So get your kid in the swim lesson, get them trained up in how to swim. I think outsourcing to professionals is such a good idea for that.
Totally.
Same thing with king. If you're hey, I want my kid to learn how to do this. Yeah. Do some private lessons, do some horseback riding lessons, do whatever you want. It just giving them an opportunity to learn their capacity, have an area for growth, have something that's challenging to them, and also have something where they can enjoy it later on in their life. That's kind of our vision for the skiing, because we want to just take trips as families as they become adults. All those things can be accomplished through that versus just the organized sports.
Absolutely.
The final thing that I think we are doing that is so minor, but also it's just been really interesting to see how it's played out in our life, is that we really stopped any sort of casual consumption of alcohol. I would say 2 years ago.
It would be, for me at least, around when I ran the first marathon. So it would have been, was that 2022?
Yeah.
So then it would have been it would have been, for me, it would have been late 2021 for me.
Let's call it 2 years. And I say that from a perspective of, we are big foodies, man. Yeah. We love food. We love hanging out. We love having friends over. We love we love that stuff. And so alcohol very naturally fit into our everyday life. I mean, you'd come home from work, I'd be like, oh, let's make cocktails. Let's do something fun. And there was definitely a part in our life where casual drinking or regular consumption of alcohol, not overconsumption, but just regular consumption, was very normal for us. And there was even a part in my life where I was I can't imagine not, being oh, I don't drink at all, because I wouldn't cut out a whole food group. Why would I do the same thing with alcohol? And then I kind of challenged myself to go without it for a long time. And then I realized, oh, there is some benefit There's some mental clarity gained. But I think the bigger thing, we have episodes where we talk about the negative effects of alcohol, and it's like food, you choose what you're willing to put up with. But I think for us, the biggest thing we've noticed as it applies to sort of the standard American way of life is that alcohol is so often consumed as, one, a social crutch, or two, a stress reliever. And I would say personally, I will admit I've used it in that way in the past. And so that's been my biggest learning. I'm not saying I will never drink an alcoholic drink again. I'm just saying I won't use them like that. And it's funny. Like, you and I were just on a date the other night, and we kind of finished up our dinner, and we're like, man, this is where like we normally would be like, hey, let's go sit at the bar and like grab a couple drinks. But like, there's nothing like that to do. So we're like, should we go to the movies? We ended up going to Whole Foods and shopping for fun snacks because we don't normally shop at Whole Foods. Like, that's how lame we are. But I think just questioning this narrative of really, really casual consumption of alcohol, especially as it relates to being a social crutch, meaning I'm bored and I don't know what to do, make a drink, or a stress reliever of any kind. I had a hard day, I'm feeling upset, I need a mood boost. Any of that category is once you move past those things, you really see how often it's being used that way in American culture. And I think breaking free of that has been so liberating.
I think that this is a tricky topic, because in one sense, I would say I'm pro the idea of alcohol, in the sense that I don't think that alcohol in and of itself is a sinful or major issue that people need to steer clear of, right? Like, I don't think it's like this hyper dangerous, can be, but it's not this hyper dangerous thing that, I'm not going to ban my kids from it.
Yeah.
I actually would rather them be very familiar with it, rather than them feel like they get exposed to this thing without ever knowing what it is when they, leave the house.
Totally.
So I believe in this idea of like ceremony. And so I don't know when the right time to really tell the full story on here will be, but I had a dream hunt, meaning like, one, the opportunity of where I went to go was a dream, but also just the results of what occurred and happened is nothing short of, divine intervention.
For your moose hunt.
Correct.
Yeah.
I'd worked so hard. I had put so much time and effort and research into this hunt, and I only had, the week that I was there. And this, second to last day, I was successful, and it was just an unbelievable experience, just such high intensity. And then I'm around the table with all the guys that were there hunting, able to tell the story. And in that moment, drinking a beer was like the best thing I could think of. Like, it was like we're all going to cheers and toast to this successful hunt and celebrate. And then the guides, because we had tagged out, meaning like everyone's done hunting now, and we have a day that's like where we could have hunted, but now we don't need to. And like, they brought out like a guitar and a banjo, and it sounds ridiculous. We're in the mountains in the middle of nowhere of Newfoundland. And these locals are just singing us old like songs from forever ago. And we're all just sitting there just enjoying it. And I don't know, it was awesome. It was absolutely awesome. That I had 2 or 3 beers that night. And I haven't had a beer since. And I don't know the last time I had a beer before then. So it's not like, I'm out here just like ripping beers or any kind of alcohol ever. But I do believe in this idea of like ceremony and celebration, and, the idea of it's so funny. I often get Jesus, made wine. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I don't think wine or alcohol is sinful in any kind of way. But I also believe that based off of science that I've like had people tell me and learned that regularly consuming alcohol of any kind can suppress testosterone. And it can weigh you down. And God for, God for, don't even think about the fact that like, not to mention the fact that like alcohol can become addictive.
Yeah.
So there's something there to be careful of. I don't know. I think that Diana Rogers made a comment when we interviewed her, and she said about sugar and cupcakes and whatnot. She said, it's not your birthday. Like, spoiler alert, it's not your birthday. And I kind of want to like make a post of like, like spoiler alert, right? Like it's not like, not to be too much of a downer, but kind of to be a downer.
Yeah.
Like you didn't just kill a moose, right?
With a bow.
Like you like, maybe you did, and go have a beer, right? But like, it's almost becoming this. I mean, everywhere you go, the bar, it's like out at the restaurant we were at that day. I remember looking around and I thought, I wonder where this restaurant spent the most money. And then it was very obvious. Their biggest investment like from like an interior perspective, and you check on restaurants, you'll notice this everywhere. It's almost like the restaurant is centered around the bar. They want like, it's all about alcohol. And it's just, it's so promoted and pushed in your face so much that it becomes so common and regular. And man, I think it just slowly degrades your health. I think sugar does the same thing. You gotta be careful with sugar, but refined sugar specifically. But yeah, I mean, I think alcohol is something that you should have complete control of it, and bust it out for the engagement, right? Let's have some champagne, like on a anniversary night with my wife, and we're out to eat, and we're at a hotel, and we bought a really nice bottle of wine.
Yeah.
Or, that's kind of what I see alcohol playing a role in our life. That's kind of the role I see alcohol playing in our life from now on. So
yeah, I agree. I love it. That was all my points. And again, we're not like saying like we like cracked the code on how to live a good life, but we're just sharing like the ways that we've kind of stood back and been like, this is kind of different from like mainstream society.
mm-hmm.
And a lot of it is just like, I enjoy a lot of these elements. I enjoy, while some of them are also bring hardship, right? They're not all easy. It's not easy to be a business owner or homeschooling parent, or take on the burdens of your family in a way that really impacts their life and yours, but it's so freaking worth it. And so, live outside the matrix if that's what you want. If it's not, you already have the framework for you. It is literally written into American society. So no one needs to tell you how to go get a job and, play the game. And of course, pick and choose from it what you want. So it's just a little encouragement there.
I dig it. Friends, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching if you're on YouTube. And until next time, friends, that's a wrap.